Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Allie and welcome back to podcast episode number 8. In today's podcast episode, I actually have a lot to talk about. I have 3 finished objects, I have 2 new casts on, and I have some yarn that I'm super excited to share that I acquired over the last couple of weeks. So I'm going to just jump right in because I fear that this may be a little bit of a long episode, which is totally fine. I don't mind blabbing about my projects, but we'll just get started with my finished objects. So this past couple months, this year, I really wanted to get into summer knits. I really liked the idea of knit tank tops and knit t-shirts and things like that. I just had never taken kind of the step to work on them or find patterns that I thought would look good on me. But this year, I have already completed 2 summer knits already, which kind of sounds crazy. But then I think about that it's already July pretty much by the time this goes up. So I feel like I am right on schedule because it's now in the middle of summer and I have 2 summer projects done. So the very first one I want to talk about is one that I featured in my last podcast episode, which is I have my notes here, the My Little Secret Crop Top by Jessie May Designs. So I had kind of almost just started last time I talked about this, but now it is done. This is what it looks like. I'll try to get a close up. I feel like without the sun hitting it, it's quite hard to see the nice sparkles and things like that. But so this tank top is an all over 2x2 rib. It is worked on 3.75 millimeter needles. And then the ribbing, there's some ribbing at the very bottom here, and then matching ribbing on the very top as well. And that is knit in 3.25 millimeters. And then there is I-cord straps. So you work from the bottom up for this tank top, and you work the bottom ribbing part first, the 1x1 rib, and then you transition into the 2x2 rib. And then once you get to your desired length, I did knit this to pattern. I know I mentioned that I could potentially knit it a little bit longer, but I went ahead and just knit to the pattern length because that is kind of the length that I wanted when I tried it on, and I knew it was going to grow a little bit due to this being not only ribbing, but also this is superwash yarn, superwash wool, so I knew that it was going to grow a little bit, so I decided to just leave it at what was recommended. And then once you hit that part, you split the front and the back. So you start casting off stitches in the back while also keeping stitches for the I-cord on the back as well. And then you work a couple increases and, a couple of decreases for the top. I did make a modification for the top. I did not want my tank top to go so far in. So I omitted the second set of decreases in the pattern. So you start off with decreases right after you bind off for the back, and then you kind of have to knit for a little bit longer, and then you start with some more decreases. So I just omitted that whole second decrease section and just knit until I reached the length that was recommended for the front panel. And then honestly, the longest part really was the I-cord straps. I don't mind I-cord straps. I am not a big fan of I-cord in general, but the straps are fine. But they do take quite a bit of time. Not as long as I thought they were going to take. I think I finished one in a day and a half and then the other in 2 days, just because that's how it worked out with my knitting schedule for myself. So it wasn't too bad, but I'm really happy with the way that it fits. I'm really happy with the colors. I used my special Miss Babs yarn that I picked up at the Carolina Fiber Festival back in March, and I really liked the way it worked up. I held this yarn double because it is knit at a kind of DK/light worsted gauge, even though it is knit on smaller needles. But I really debated whether I wanted to hold it double or hold it single, because I wasn't sure I necessarily liked the look of holding it double. I was worried that it was going to get quite muddled, and I think it did kind of suffer from that a little bit, but not enough that like made me want to frog it or stop it and like redo it. I think once it's like stretched, you really get the look of that yarn. So yeah, I really like this tank top. It was super duper easy. I finished it in only a few days, which was really nice. It blocked beautifully. I really like the customizable part of it. You know, you can make it as long or as short as you want, and then same with the decreases. There is options and kind of instructions for if you want to do like a more boxy fit or if you do want a more tapered fit. There's some recommendations in there, and then also recommendations for shoulder length, which I really appreciate. I have very like small shoulders so most like tank top things, they don't exactly fit my shoulders because they are so like short. I'm not sure if that's the proper like medical explanation, but so having some kind of guidance, and I think I did do it the smaller size that was recommended in there, and that fit lovely. I think I actually did do it a little bit smaller, so it was a bit of a tighter fit, knowing that this is superwash, so I was expecting it to grow a little bit, but I think it fits perfectly. And one thing I really like about these straps is because it is thicker, I feel like it's not going to stretch as much like with wear and tear. Because some of the straps, like the little like spaghetti strap ones, I do worry that they will stretch quite a lot the more that you wear them, which is only natural. And I'm sure that these were also stretched the more that I wear this tank top, just the nature that it is and the more often I wash it. But the way that this is constructed, I can easily just bind off and tighten and take out some rows to make it fit again. But for right now, the fit is literally perfect. I actually recently bought a tank top that I have like been obsessed with. I got it from the thrift store and I love it so much. I wear it like probably a little bit too much, but I was trying this on one day before I was going out because I had just like set it to the side and I was going to come back to it when I got home, and I put this over top just to try it on, and it's literally the exact same like length and shape and everything, and I really couldn't be happier because I love the fit of that tank top, and this kind of hits that exact same fit that I really love. So it is a bit of a thicker fabric because I did hold my fingering weight double. I'd be really interested to try and do this with a single strand of fingering weight to see how that goes, or I don't think I would ever do like mohair or something, but yeah, I'd be interested to see how it would be with just a single fingering weight and kind of maybe adjust the needle size but go up a couple of sizes in the pattern. I don't know, I'd have to experiment with it because I did not use a lot of yarn at all. I was holding this double and I think I used about 60 grams in total. Let me check my notes because I think I did add that in my project. Okay, so yeah, I used about 60 grams in total of each ball. So about like 120 grams, give or take. So I feel like, I don't know, I'd be interested to try a single strand of fingering to see how that would go. It's not too thick where I have felt hot when wearing it. I think it's just a really nice, comfortable, lighter tank top. It's not like thin, but it's also not like a thick fabric. It feels, I mean, it's a DK weight, so it's not the thickest, but it's not the lightest either. But yeah, that is the secret little crop top. I am like so obsessed with this. I really like it a lot. It was so easy to knit. The instructions are really great, and I really like how many projects are on the Ravelry page too. I loved looking through everybody's and seeing everyone's modifications. I know in the pattern there's also a modification that if you wanted like crisscross straps, there's definitely a option for that in there and guidance for that too. So I think this is just such a fun, like, simple tank that can really be customized in so many different ways. So yeah. I want to say before we continue that I'm so sorry if I sound very nasally or I feel like I'm struggling to talk, but I just got over being sick not too long ago, so I feel a lot better, but my voice and my sinuses do not feel better. But the next project I want to talk about is another summer knit, which I kind of cast on almost, I think, the day after my last podcast or very soon after, and I kind of just flew off my needles and I did not get a chance to talk about it yet. But this is the Sailor Swift Top by Kutova Kika. So here it is. It is another, I have it backwards. It is another tank top, and I love this tank top so much as well. I really am proud of myself for going out of my comfort zone and kind of knitting some more summer tops. I've said it before in my videos, in the summer I am a tank top and cardigan lover. That is pretty much where I wear 95% of the time in the summer. So being able to knit and make some tank tops that will add to my wardrobe is really exciting to me, and I've had a lot of fun doing these summer knits. They've been very quick and very easy, and I have used up some of my stash yarn, which is really nice. The My Little Secret crop top is not so much stash yarn since I bought that recently, but this tank top I was able to dig into my stash yarn, so that is really exciting, even though I didn't really use a lot of it at all, but I was able to stash bust one ball of yarn, so I count that as a win. So this is a tank top by Kutova Kika. This is a top down fingering weight tank top. I chose to use up some of my Knitting for Olive cotton merino in the color navy and the color cream. So it is this blue and white, and this was I think this was another one of her options in the project photos. She has a white and a black version, I believe, and then also a navy blue and a white, and I just so happened to have those colors and enough of the yarn that I was like, I want to do that too because I like the look of it. So this is pretty much a very simple tank top. It is not like a spaghetti strap or anything like that. It is just what I would call a tank top. So you start off with the back panel and you work X amount of rows with the stripes, and then you cast on the two front pieces here and then connect with some increases, and then you pretty much work in the round until the very end. And at the very bottom there is a teeny tiny bit of twisted ribbing. This tank top actually worked up really quickly. I was a bit nervous since it was a fully fingering weight garment. I have never made a pure fingering weight garment before. I've always held like DK, or I'm working on a sport one now, but I've never worked just purely a fingering weight size. But this surprisingly worked up really fast. I definitely could have finished this in less than a week, but I have been kind of on and off sick for the last couple of weeks, so I've had to take breaks here and there. But overall, it's a really simple knit. I think it's a very flattering shape, so it meant to have a little bit of negative ease, and I think that this has the perfect negative ease for myself. I wanted kind of, again, a more tighter tank top rather than a looser tank top, and I think this just fits perfectly and how I wanted it to be. I knit the size small, and I knit 2 pattern. I knit the stripes 2 pattern and everything else 2 pattern as well. So once you are done with the whole body, then the edges around the neckline and the armhole are I-cord edges. Now, I just recently mentioned that I'm not a big fan of I-cord, and I'm still not a big fan of I-cord. I just find that I am really slow at it, and that's okay. I don't expect to be like super fast, but I feel like it is like snail speed for me. And I think that's just a me problem because I don't do it very often. It's the same with double knitting. I feel like I am just the slowest person on the planet when I do double knitting, and it is not any different for I-cord. But that being said, I really, really like the finishing that this gives it. So this was a 5-stitch I-cord edge, and I think that it just is so perfect. It adds such a nice, like, thick, crisp line, and I find that it complements the tank top really well rather than a small rib or even a double knitting band. I think it just fits it really well. I have kind of a funny story about this tank top too. So this leftover navy yarn is from my my cinema sweater that I made back in the beginning of the year / the end of last year. I used Knitting for Olive navy, and I absolutely loved it. I had no problems with the yarn back then, but I went to go block this tank top. And I put it in the sink, and then I went to go get my wool wash so I could come back. And when I came back, I couldn't have been gone for more than like 10 seconds. And the entire sink was bright blue, like blue raspberry blue. And I was like, oh my God, oh no. And like, I wouldn't have cared so much if I didn't have the white stripes. Like, if this was just a solid blue, I would have been like, okay, whatever, I'll give it some few rinses, like, it'll be fine. But because this had the white stripes, I was freaking out. I like stopped the water and I quickly like squeezed it out, and I was like rinsing it with cool water because I didn't want it to soak in the water with the blue dye. And I was really confused and also like panicked because when I made my cinema sweater with this yarn, it did not bleed at all. And I used a ball that I had already gone into that I had left over, so it wasn't a new ball. It was one that I had already used prior to using it this time that I only have used for my cinema sweater. So I hadn't used it for anything else. And I was so confused and so frantic, so I sat there for like 5 minutes just rinsing and squeezing it out until the water became like clear and not this bright blue raspberry blue, which was so scary because I was so worried it was going to dye the white stripes. And like, in hindsight, it wouldn't have been like the worst thing because I don't think it would have dyed it like completely blue. I think it probably just would have darkened it to almost like a gray. But I still didn't want that, you know, I didn't want that to happen. So I rinsed it until it was clear, and then I went and got some vinegar and I put some white vinegar in there and let it soak just to hopefully like seal up whatever kind of blue dye that apparently wanted to come out for this garment. But it was really hard to tell in the sink too because, you know, the white gets darker when it was wet, so it was quite dark, and I was like, oh no, like, did it actually dye? But I trusted the process, and once it was completely dry and I took it off the mat, it looked completely fine. It looked completely fine, but it was so scary. I was so scared I was going to lose my white stripes. I think maybe they got like a tiny bit darker, but I really don't think so. I don't think so at all, because it wasn't like pure white. It was a cream, so it's a little bit like darker anyway. But I don't know what dye yarn gods blessed me that day, but I am happy to say that my tank top did not get dyed completely blue. I'm not really sure what happened because, again, I used that yarn in my sweater and it did not bleed at all. So I don't know. And I keep it in like a storage safe container and things like that, sealed container. So I don't know. I don't know what happened, but I have kind of like set those aside and mark them that they bleed, just so if I have an option to use, if I need to use them again, I will probably choose something that will just be navy blue instead of navy blue and white. But I was so panicked for like 15 minutes. My cats were looking at me like, Mom, what is wrong with you? And I was like, my tank top. But yeah, I think it turned out great. I have worn this tank top out 2 or 3 times now, and it fits perfectly. I will say the neckline is maybe a little bit tight, but I think that's just my own problem from my I-cord bind off that I don't think I have down yet, but I know over time with a few more wears that it'll be completely fine. I can fit it over my head. It's not tight like on my neck or anything, and same with the arm holes. They're not like tight against my body. It's just a little bit tight putting it on. But I think over some wear and tear, it'll be totally fine. It is a really nice, light, bouncy garment. I find this to be kind of the perfect weight to wear out in the summer. This is cotton merino, so it is it has the little bit of warmth that the merino gives, but it is mostly cotton, so it is nice and airy at the same time. And with it being a fingering weight, it is very, very light, and I really like that. And I can't wait to wear it out again. I think I'm going out in a couple of days, and I will probably pop this down, because if you live anywhere on the East Coast right now, it has been absolutely boiling outside. I think today is the first day here that is not almost 100 degrees, so it just hasn't made me want to go outside at all. I like summer, but the heat really gets to me very easily, so I can't be out for too long, but it's getting a little bit cooler here. It's getting in the lower 90s, which sounds crazy to call cool, but compared to what it has been, it's been cooler. So I've been really excited and itching to wear out more of my summer knits, since it is now summer, like fully summer, and I actually have some summer knits that I get to wear out. Okay, my next finished object. I will preface this by saying it's not completely finished, but I would say it is like 99.9% finished. And I am leaving this one for last because I did not want to start off this video negatively, but I am not exactly happy with this knit, and I'm really sad about it. I'm really sad that I am not happy, because I love everything about this knit. I love everything that this knit promised me, and I have been left very disappointed. Okay, this knit is the zipper sweater by Le Pool. So this is what it looks like. I don't have it on a hanger, but I think I can hold it up pretty well. So I have had this work in progress for a couple months now. I started this back in April, and I have just recently finished it. This was a knit-along I did with my roommate. We both made the same sweater. We picked out together what we really liked, and we chose on this because we wanted something for the fall, but something that maybe was a little bit different than we have made before, and we didn't want just like a plain sweater is really what we wanted. So we chose this, which was a pullover, which we were really excited about. But I talked about this a little bit in my last podcast. Some of the grading or math, or I'm not really sure what is the issue, but it's something that we both had. So I am kind of confident that it's not me or us, because I also see other people have had this issue, but some numbers just do not add up. So when I talked last about this sweater, I talked about how I wish that the body was a little bit more loose, and then I wish the sleeves were a little bit like less oversized. So I knit the size small, and according to the measurements, I should be getting about several centimeters of positive ease, I believe like 10 to 15. I'll pop it up somewhere on the screen. So I wanted kind of the oversized, not like drowning in it, but I wanted, a pullover. This would be something I would put over a shirt or over a tank top for the fall or the cooler summer days. So I hit gauge, so it wasn't a gauge issue. I'm knitting a DK weight. I'm knitting 2 strands of fingering together, and everything, like I checked all the boxes. And the body is definitely a lot tighter than I wanted it to be. I'll insert some videos or pictures here of what it looks like. And then the sleeves are kind of just like comically large. And I know that is probably a design feature for this sweater, which is fine. I really like longer sleeves or bigger sleeves, but it just kind of gives these like bunching parts here. And it just, even when I wear it, it like bunches underneath the underarm. And I saw a lot of people in their project notes say that they decreased the amount of stitches for the sleeve by like 20. It's a lot. I think you pick up one per every stitch, so I think it was around like 120 stitches. So it's quite a lot. And I wouldn't have had a problem with that if the body was bigger, if the body had more positive ease. And I don't know, again, I had this problem and my roommate also had this problem. So I don't want to blame it necessarily on the pattern, but the fact that we both are having the exact same issue when we both hit gauge, we both follow the pattern to a T, is just a little frustrating. Brings me to where I stopped last time when we talked about the sweater last, was I had the neckband to do. So as the pattern name suggests, this is supposed to have a zipper. The problem is that the neckline is too tight. It is too tight for a zipper. I'm gonna try to hold this together so you can see. This is how big the neck is. That is so tiny. And I was kind of hopeful because I was like, okay, blocking, maybe this will fix it, because I'm using an alpaca wool blend, and I know alpaca grows quite a bit when you block it. So I was like, okay, maybe if I just, block it pretty tightly or roughly, it'll stretch out and I'll be able to put my zipper on. No. I could hypothetically put a zipper on, but it would not be able to zip up nearly enough. It would probably stop around here. And that leads to where I am now. So I am debating if I want to put the zipper on and just deal with the fact that I cannot zip it up all the way, or if I want to, here's my second thought, and this is what I'm leaning towards, but I just haven't made the decision to do it yet, because I'm kind of just I need to step back from this project. But my second option is to sew this bottom part, pretty much from this stripe over, and sew it together to kind of make a polo V, how polos have. I'm trying to think. I know the Elizabeth blouse by Petite Knit kind of has that vibe, and just make it, I'll try to insert a picture that will probably better explain what I'm trying to say and show at the same time, but that's my second thought, because this is quite deep. So if I sew this bit together, it will make it a little bit shallower, that it'll be kind of not an awkward V-neck if I were to just have it as a pullover without any zipper. So that's kind of where I'm at with this project. I am calling it finished because hypothetically it is finished, but I just haven't made up my mind what I want to do with the zipper yet. Another thing I want to say is, because I was not sure if I was going to put a zipper or not, there is supposed to be another set of double knitting along this band to kind of encase the zipper. I did not do that double band. So if I were to decide to go and do the zipper, I would have to go in there and pick up stitches and do that double knitting band to kind of tuck the zipper in neatly to be sewn on. But I didn't really want to do that if I wasn't going to put the zipper in, and I was going to sew the bottom instead, because I felt like it was just going to add unnecessary bulkiness to it. So I'm kind of at a crossroads. I was reading through a lot of the the projects, and a lot of people had the same exact issue with the neckline. A lot of people did more increases along the back of the neck, or they just did more increases in the or more stitches in the actual button band. I think you start off with 8, so I saw people doing 10 or 12. And then I saw people just frogging back and kind of doing the similar style that I was talking about, and just making it a standard polo pullover kind of vibe. So I am still not sure. I felt like I really, really like this sweater, which is so frustrating. And it's kind of making me torn between kind of dealing with it or frogging it. And I haven't decided yet. So I'm leaving it to the side and kind of letting it be, because I have worked on it for so long and I have so many frustrations. I'm kind of just letting it sit, and I will come to a decision then. But yeah, it's really sad because I really like this pattern. I really like the finished object that it created, and I really love this yarn. It is the Sire Alpaca 2. It was my first time working with it, and it has just created such an amazing, like, drapey, soft fabric. And I could frog, but because I was working with 2 balls at the same time, I cut the yarn every stripe. So I could frog it, but I feel like it would just be way more laborious to do that than to fix it in a different way, because then I would have probably like 30 small little balls of like 10 grams of yarn to work with. So I am at a crossroad. If you have any suggestions, I know frogging is an option. I'm still thinking about it, but I really would like to not frog and kind of just make it adjustments to make it work with how it is. So I'm still thinking about it. I haven't decided, but yeah, I just wanted to share some of my frustrations with this pattern. And I'm really sad because a lot of times, like, I'll look through the project photos and projects on Ravelry or notes and things like that, and some of them, some of them have no issues at all, and you kind of second guess yourself because some have issues and some don't, and then you're like, okay, well, maybe those issues won't happen to me. But unfortunately, it did happen to me, and it also happened to my roommate, the exact same issues. And so, yeah, we're kind of both at a standstill with it because we both really like the projects that it created, but we don't know what to do about the zipper thing. So for now, this is finished, but kind of like half going into hibernation until I decide what to do. Okay, next I want to talk about my works in progresses. I will talk about my shirt first. So in my upcoming knitting plans, I talked about another summer knit that I was super excited to get started with, and that is the Freestyle shirt by Suzanne Muller. So it is kind of just like a standard basic raglan t-shirt. It is made out of cotton yarn, and I have gotten my yarn, thankfully, and it is like the perfect color. If you watched that video, you know that I have purchased this yarn online, but everywhere that I looked to kind of browse this yarn, you had a different color preview photos, so I was a little bit nervous as to what color green was going to show up, because I wanted kind of a light pastel-y or lighter green and not a very vibrant lime, which is what I saw some people have. So I was very worried until this yarn came, but then it came and it is perfect. And I'm going to put a sound warning really quickly because I have probably the jingliest of jingliest stitch markers on my project right now. So sorry for all the jingling. I'm going to try to be really conscious of it. But this is the yarn. Hopefully it can focus, but so this is BC Garn Alba. I believe this is the color lime. It's like color 9 or 11 or something, but it is lime, and this is exactly what I had in mind when I purchased this yarn. So I was so happy when I opened it because I was so nervous. I literally opened it on the way back from the mailbox because I was thinking about this color. But so this is an all cotton yarn, which I am very excited to be working with. This is the first time I am working with a fully cotton yarn, and I really love this yarn. I felt it in store when I went to one of my local yarn stores before buying this online because I really wanted to feel it, and it is so soft and silky, and it's not drying on the fingers. It's not like rough to work with. It's just beautiful. So I'm going to try to hold this up the best I can without all my stitch markers jingling so loudly, but I fear that they are anyway. So sorry if that is a little bit irritating to the ears. So Oh, it looks so green on camera. It is not this green, I promise. But this is what it looks like so far. So I have not split for the sleeves yet. I am almost there. I think I have about 2 more rows of repeats to do, or 2 more rows of increases to do. But so this is a standard kind of raglan construction. So you have stitch markers for each increase, 2 along each shoulder, the front and the back. So each increase round, I increase 8 stitches. So the fun thing about this raglan is that the raglan is actually a purl stitch. So instead of having the like standard knit stitch in between, it's a purl stitch. And I find that really cool. I haven't seen that before. And I think it adds a nice like not pattern because it's only 1 stitch, but I really like it. A nice detail that I haven't seen before. And looking at the photos, I didn't like connect 2 and 2 that it was a purl like stitch between, but then when I started, I was like, oh, that makes sense. It looks just like the photo. So that is something I really like about this shirt. But other than that, I don't really have too much to say because it is just a standard raglan. So I cast it on in the round, and then I did some short row shaping for the back, and then once the German short rows were done, I just worked in the round standard raglan style. So you work 1 round of increases, and then the next round you work with no increases and just repeat until X amount of rows have been completed. So I'm pretty close to splitting for the sleeves, which I'm really excited about. This fabric is so soft, and like it doesn't really have much stretch, but it is just, I really, really like the way that it feels. It is very soft. It feels like cotton, which sounds kind of weird to say because of course it does. It's a cotton yarn, but I don't know. I just really like it. It feels very soft and it feels very like quality. So I'm really excited to see how this blocks out. Because it definitely is, I feel like I have a little bit of tension issue because it is a little less forgiving, whereas wool, you know, you can tug and pull a little bit, but this doesn't have as much stretch or flexibility. So I'm really excited to block this and see how it looks with some of the imperfections blocked out. But other than that, I really, really like this. The pattern is super easy so far to follow. It has lots of video instructions and lots of detailed descriptions on what to do. So I will hopefully be done this in the near future. I definitely plan on splitting for the sleeves, hopefully this week, so I can get started on the body. And then after that, it's pretty much smooth sailing from there, I imagine, because it's just a straight body, and then there's short sleeves, which are already probably like most of the way done. So I'm really excited to work on this some more and hopefully be able to wear it in August is my hope. So I have about a month putting this kind of restriction on myself for no other reason other than I want to wear this. But yeah, that is my freestyle shirt. Okay, the next project that I have to talk about is another work in progress, but this one I actually don't have with me. It's in the it's in the nearby vicinity, but I'll explain why in a second. So I was browsing on Instagram one day and I saw a test call for this sweater and it immediately caught my eye and I was like, oh my god, something about this sweater just like captured me and I couldn't help myself but to apply for a test. So this is a test knit sweater. It is the Wizard Sweater by Christopher McGee over on Instagram. They put out a tester call about a week or 2 ago and I applied, and with all kind of tests that I applied to, I never expect to get the test, but I thankfully was able to get the test to be able to knit this sweater. So I'm really excited. I will put pictures up here of what the sweater looks like. So it is a intarsia sweater, which is really crazy for me to say because I've never done colorwork before. So this was kind of like a surprise experience. I am planning on making the terracotta sweater, which does have colorwork, but I kind of applied to this again thinking that I wouldn't get it, but hopeful, and then I did. So I am kind of thrown into intarsia, but I'm very happy about it. I wanted to work on colorwork, and this is perfect. I could not be more happy. So this is a test knit, so the pattern is not released yet, and I can't really share too many details, but I can say that it is knit from the bottom up and worked flat. So you cast on X amount of stitches for X amount of rows with the ribbing, and then you pretty much start the intarsia color work. So it is this wizard and goblin chart that is just so funny. I love it. I love it so much. And I had a hard time picking out colors for this sweater because I knew I wanted purple. And I saw this really beautiful color kind of palette on Pinterest, and I knew that that's what I wanted for my sweater. And I spent probably 2 hours trying to find the perfect combination of colors for the sweater. So I ended up going with the paint box wool blend in the kind of myriad of purple colors and this really pretty green color as well. So I don't have it with me to show, but I will insert pictures of it just because I'm still on the intarsia work, and I have like 5 balls of yarn, and trying to wrangle that and show on camera is not what I want to do. So I will put in pictures of some of my progress as I'm talking about it, but yeah, I'm really excited. I, again, haven't done intarsia before, but I have done a lot of crochet color work. So I kind of had some vague idea of how to work and catch floats and things like that, since I'm familiar with doing that with crochet. And I would say it's pretty much almost the same, just with knitting. One of the biggest things I really want to focus on is my tension. I know a lot of people have, beginners with intarsia and color work in general, have tension issues, so I've been kind of really mindful of that and kind of making sure I test every row as I go to make sure it's not bunched up or like super too loose. It's definitely not perfect, but I have to say I'm pretty proud of myself for the work that I've done so far. I have 12 weeks to finish the sweater, which I think will be enough time. I really want to get the color work done and out of the way, because after that it's pretty simple. The back does not have any color work on it, and it's just kind of plain stockinette, and then the sleeves are worked in the round, I believe. I haven't read the sleeves yet, but it's just striped sleeves, so I'm not too worried about that. It was a machine knit pattern that was translated to hand knitting, so I'm really excited to get my first color work done and out of the way. And this sweater is just so cool. I think it's such a statement piece, like in a fun way, and I can see myself just wearing this like on a really cozy autumn day or even around the house. I really like to it just feels so cozy and just like, I don't know, I like it. And I really like the purple color palette too, because it kind of screams like fall and autumn, which is where I plan to wear this the most, definitely. So it's been really fun. I don't really have too much to say other than that, because I really have just kind of recently gotten started. I recently got my yarn the other day, and I have just been kind of chugging through the chart and make sure taking my time. I decided to go with the chart first, the front part first, even though technically in the pattern it says to start with the back, but I knew since this was my first color work project, my first intarsia project, I would probably need a little bit of extra time for the front, and I figured let me get that out of the way just in case I have to frog it or anything. I really want to make sure I have enough time to focus on that, because the rest, if it's just stockinette, that's a breeze. I can do that without like really thinking much. I can do that in any kind of free time, whereas now with the chart, I really have to make dedicated time to sit and look at the chart and make sure I'm following it correctly, whereas if it's just stockinette, I can just sit down and kind of do whatever with that. So yeah, stay tuned. I am trying to post some updates over on Instagram if I make any like big milestones. So if you're interested to see how that works up, you can go ahead and follow me over there. But I'll probably be able to actually show the sweater next podcast episode when I have the front done. So I'm really excited. And I really like the yarn too. So the paint box wool blend is a mix of acrylic and wool. So I'm really excited to I've worked with Paintbox a lot, and I really like their yarns, and I felt that these had the good colors. It is a worsted weight, so it is working out pretty nicely, but for a blend it is very soft and squishy, and I am really excited to see how the final product ends up. So I will keep everybody updated over there on Instagram if you want to see works in progress pictures. Okay, so next I want to talk about some of my yarn that I have gotten. So over the past, not this past week, but the week before was the Triangle Yarn Crawl. And it was a lot of fun. I went to a lot of shops that I hadn't been to before, so I was really excited to go look at new stores around me, and this was the perfect excuse to go. So when I went, I had the intention of buying yarn for the terracotta sweater. I knew that I wanted a dark, like slate gray color for the body, and then a creamy white for the pattern motif. So that's what I went in there with the mindset of, and I was pretty set on it that I was not going to change what I wanted. And thankfully, I was able to find the right yarn. So the first yarn that I picked up was the dark slate yarn, and this is the Kelbourne Woolens Scout. I hope it can pick up on camera, but it's like a pretty dark gray with just like the tiniest bit of heathering in it, like light gray heathering, which is exactly what I wanted. So this is the color Charcoal Heather. It is a DK weight, and when I went looking for this yarn, I was undecided if I wanted to hold it the way that the pattern recommends. So it recommends a fingering and a mohair together, and I was unsure if I wanted to do that. I wasn't too set on the mohair, and then I thought, okay, well, what about two fingering together? But then I was like, do I want to hold two balls of yarn together? And I didn't. I don't want to do that. I'm tired of it. For my zipper sweater, I held two balls of yarn together, and then for my wizard sweater, I'm holding like 5 to 6 balls at one time, though that is a little bit different because it's color work. But regardless, I was like, I just want one skein to work with at a time until I get to the color work, and then it's 2, but still I'd rather have 2 than 4. So I was really happy to be able to find this yarn. So Kelbourne Woolens has a lot of yarn, and I decided to go with the DK one, and I was really thankful that they had the color that I wanted. I had looked online ahead of time, and I kind of knew that they did offer this color, and I was happily surprised to be able to get the amount that I needed in store, and then it is looking exactly like it did online. So I'm really happy about it. So that is the first yarn that I picked up at the yarn crawl. And I did control myself and did not buy yarn at every shop, even though I really wanted to, but I did not. So the second yarn that I got is the contrast color. So it is this like really kind of creamy white color. It is by Celestial Dye Works, and this is my first time working with this yarn as well as the Kelbourne Woolen, so I'm really excited to try some new yarns. So this is also a DK. This is superwash, so I'm a little nervous about how these two yarns are going to work up because this is not superwash. This is just 100% wool, but I think it'll be okay. I actually think it might be better because I am a little worried about my tension working in the round with this color work, so I think it being able to grow a little bit is actually going to be beneficial for me, but we'll see. I obviously do not plan to put this in the washer or dryer. I plan to hand wash it and dry it as I normally would with any kind of pure wool garment, so hopefully it won't stretch out that much. But I really like this color. I really like the feeling of this yarn. It's very soft, and it has just like the tiniest bit of halo that will hopefully show up on camera. But yeah, I think these two together are going to be really nice. And I was a little bit worried that this was a little too creamy, but I don't think it will be. And if by chance it is, I have a backup plan because I have 2 balls left from the cream that I use for my zipper sweater, so that will be my backup plan if for some reason this is not like vibing with this, even though I think it will. I don't think I'll have a problem, but that's my backup plan just in case. But these are the 2 yarns for my terracotta sweater. Okay, and my last yarn acquisition that I got at the yarn crawl was this really pretty sock yarn. It is so pretty. So this is what it looks like. It is just this like green, pink, and like teal color way, and I love it so much. I saw it and I knew I had to have it. And I think this may be the start of my like enjoyment of variegated yarn. And I said it before when I worked on my tank top with the variegated yarn that I am like not a big fan of variegated yarn, but I feel like I'm coming around to it. So I got 2 sets of this. So I got, each one of these is 100 grams. So I got 200 grams of this yarn. I believe they're both, yeah, because this is 400 meters. So this is superwash, 80% merino, 20% nylon. It is definitely intended for socks, but I don't think I will make socks with these, but we'll see. I want to do a swatch to see how it works out, but I picked up 2 of these just on the off chance that I wanted to make a like top or something out of it, and then I'll have enough for that. But the camera isn't really picking it up too much. The green is like way more vibrant on camera than it is in real life, but yeah, I don't know. It just really is. I really like the colors. I really like the way they work together. So hopefully the swatch is really nice. It kind of reminds me of like flowers on like a pond or something of the sort. So that is my last yarn acquisition that I got, and I'm really excited because I have never used this either. This is Gusto wool, so another new yarn for me. Okay, so that is finally all that I have to talk about for this podcast. It is way longer than I intended it to be, but hopefully if you stuck through the end, it was enjoyable for you. Really excited to share all my projects and all my works in progress as well. I would love to know what you are knitting. If you're knitting any summer knits, I would love to know what pattern you're knitting, or if you have already started for the fall, what patterns are you knitting, or what patterns do you have on your mind to knit. And thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!